I've got a fully booked SA unit, but I'm still making a loss. What's going on? What am I doing wrong?
Okay, so there's a few reasons as to why you'd still be making a loss as you got a fully booked SA. So you're probably charging. Well, first one's pricing.
First of all, it's good that you've got a fully booked SA, by the way.
Yeah.
It's very good that you got a fully booked SA, but I'm guessing you just really wanted to make profit and it's got to make sense. But yeah.
Yeah. But then this is the thing, because it's like, why is you then have to start looking at why is your SA fully booked, which sounds weird. Maybe it's fully booked because it's so cheap, which is why you're not making any profit. If you then bring it up to the threshold of where it should be, where your pricing should be, where it's competitive, would you then still be getting the same type of bookings? If you're getting the same type of bookings, then that would solve your problem. But if not, then you have to make sure that, okay, that your property is offering the right amount of things to be able to charge that the right amount. The other thing I would say as well is double checking your expenditure as well. Maybe your cleaning fees are a bit higher as well.
Yeah, I think people forget about the hidden costs, but just to add about the pricing as well.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realise you need to be checking your pricing at least once a week so that you're competitive with everybody else. Because what might have been £90 per night last week may not be the same this week, and unlikely to be the same this week. So make sure that you are competitive on price with the others in your area, making sure that you're using price labs. If you're stuck with price labs, Sean does a great tutorial that allows you guys to go through that with everything added on it. So make sure you just DM us and message us about that, because that makes it so much easier, so much more simplified. But essentially, you want to make sure that your pricing is competitive alongside or against the competitors in your area. The hidden cost is a big thing that people don't factor in, which is things like maintenance, your cleaning fees, your utilities, your commission fees. There are hidden costs. So you might have thought, when you're calculating the deal, like all I need to charge is like £90 a night to get whatever, but what you've not factored in is the costs that come with that. And so there's a lot of hidden costs within property, within the rent-to-rent space, especially with Airbnbs and like SA units. And another thing that people don't factor in is things like refunds. You might have to refund a guest at some point. You might have to order pizzas as an apology because they weren't able to check in on time because the cleaners were still there. It might be that you've got damage to the property and you've forgotten to charge, or you've not, or it's been like damage that you couldn't necessarily charge the guests, or like someone's smashed a cup or glass by accident. You don't know which guest it was. High maintenance bills. There's so much that you've got to consider. Linen, even things like linen changes, like the frequency. You've got to think how many people are using this, your accommodation. You've got to be changing your linen. So it's all those kind of things that you've got to think is also factored in, and people forget that there are lots of hidden costs when running an SA. But also the other part is like maybe who you're attracting and the types of guests that you're attracting as well.
Very true. That's very true.
Because if you're attracting clientele that are business clientele, you're likely to get better rates. A lot of people feel like, okay, so there's two levels of contractors. There's the contractors that always like to you, come on, mate, I can only do it for £50 a night, and you're charging £100 and they want it at £50. And then you get the contractors who are like,
not come on, mate.
Yeah, it's literally always come on, mate, every day, come on, mate. But you could also have the business clients who are contractors, or I would say like bigger businesses, not the smaller businesses, that will come to you and be like, not really, they're obviously fussed about price because everything's a business, but they'll come to you and be like, we're happy to stay if we come directly with you. Can we take off the commission fees or whatever? That works as well. So I feel like you've got to also make sure that you're targeting clients that can give you the amount that you're looking for. It's great to be fully booked, but it doesn't make sense if you're being fully booked and only breaking even. It is not the whole point. Otherwise, you could just
I'm not going to lie. If
you're
fully booked and you're not making profit, your rates have got to be so low. Because your rates depend on what your expenses are, and not just what your expenses are, but also again what's competitive in your area. But this should all have been done through your due diligence when you was looking at taking on that property, not when you've signed and you've been operating for a bit. Now, there's one thing that I always kind of do to find out whether, we spoke about earlier, what's the minimum that you should be charging? Clearly, you're way below that. Should I give the secret away?
Yeah,
Yeah,
go
all
for
right.
it.
Cool. No, 'cause you looked at me like,
Oh, no.
was it my turn in the
I was
box
paying
now?
attention.
No, so what we normally do is just to find out what is the minimum amount of nightly price that you should be charging in order for you to be making money, right? And that is if you add all your expenses together, and let's say, for example, you had your expenses at like 2,200, so 2,200, right? You then want to divide that by 30 days in the month, right? That will give you 30, sorry, not 30, 73, right? Then you want to then divide that by the average, the lowest occupancy rate that you want to achieve at that low cost. So if you're if you're charging at your lowest rate, I want to be booked at least 60%, right? So if I'm booked at least 60%, if I've divided that by 60%, I've now got 122. That lets me know that the cheapest I can rent out my property for on a nightly rate is £122. Anything lower than that, I know that that's out of my budget. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
To me, yeah. No, that makes sense to me. So yeah, I think the pricing is something that you definitely got to go over. And what I would just say is like, you've also got to think about like the discounts that also apply to that. Maybe it's that you're setting your pricing to the right amount, but you've got lots of discounts that come into play with that as well. So something to consider. There could be many reasons and we won't know until we have a look at that specific property, if that makes sense. But I think, yeah, think about the pricing, think about your discounts, like what discounts are on there. Think about the clientele that you're targeting and think about your competitors in the area and what they're charging as well. And have a look at if you're effectively thinking about what costs come into play when you are pricing. Like, are you considering your cleaning fees? You know, I saw even one of our mentees were going through it with her at the moment, and like her cleaning, there was no point her accepting a booking, because if she accepted that booking, that the booking that she accepted was basically a cleaning fee, which means there was no profit. So it's like, why bother having anybody come in the house if you're only going to pay for cleaning? It's like pointless.
In fact, you would have owed money.
Yeah, exactly. So things like that you've got to think about. And again, it's like learning, because again, she's new to setting up her own SA. She wouldn't know all that information. But as we're guiding her with that, it's things that she's learning. And we told her to decline that booking because it's not worth it. So it's things like that that people won't think about, like making sure that your cleaning fee is set right, making sure the discounts are applied sensibly. All those things are super important, but hopefully that helps. There could be a lot to it, but like I said, if it's around your pricing, Sean has a great tutorial that you guys can access, and just let us know, just message us Price Labs, and then Sean will be able to assist you with that,
We'll
or
put
myself.
the link for a consultation call in the description as well. So
perfect.